1. Alright, welcome back to my channel. Good evening, my brothers and sisters. Today we're going to go over episode 2 of my mini-series entitled Walking with Purpose. Episode 2, we are going to go over relationships, the hardships of a relationship, and the struggles of a relationship. In the beginning, a relationship can be fine, it can be euphoric, it can be an adrenaline rush. Well, for those that are romantic and find the ultimate relationship in movies and what have you, I'm going to go over one particular movie which is entitled Nightmare Before Christmas, where you get Jack Skellington, the character in Nightmare Before Christmas. He's the Pumpkin King, and Sally is this broken individual who starts to fall in love with Jack. While Jack is impulsive and a dreamer, he discovers Christmas land, and he wants to be kind of like the king of Christmas. And Sally, on the other hand, she's broken. But in real life situations where you have one person that is broken and one person that's impulsive and a dreamer, it can be a very toxic relationship, because the impulsive dreamer, is out trying to get the new high, trying to see the good in things, and just taking risks without acknowledging the consequences or even caring about the consequences. It's all or nothing. That's their attitude. And then Sally, on the other hand, she's a little bit more sensible, but she's broken. And people that are broken, we don't know why they're broken. They could be broken over a broken past relationship, childhood trauma. Maybe they're struggling with drug addiction, food addiction. Maybe they're an alcoholic. And Sally is trying to fill that void, and she starts to fall in love with Jack. Jack has no idea that Sally is falling in love with him until later he discovers that Sally is falling in love with him. So he in return says that he loves her, and then they share this movie magical kiss. And so many people are enthralled with this romantic gesture of a movie that they don't realize that when you get two people of that magnitude to get together as one, it can be very toxic. And the truth is, many times when we get into relationships, we're so enthralled with the person that we're admiring that we don't even look at the small signs. Oh, I should have paid attention to this, or oh, I didn't see that. Or they ignore the red flags because they're in this state of euphoria where the both of them kind of compromise a little bit, and it's not really a big deal. And that's where the trouble starts to begin. And I've struggled with that in relationships, and I realize that I'm a lot like Jack. I'm very impulsive. I'm a big dreamer, and I like to chase things, and I like to think outside the box. And I really don't pay attention to many people. And I've known a few people in my past that have been interested in me, and which I didn't even have the slightest clue they were interested in me. And in some cases, when I'm trying to find love, I tend to ignore a lot of the red flags. And when I do so, I become so involved in that person's life that I start to become codependent. And I forget to do all the things that I'm passionate about, and I totally lose myself, and I quit enjoying the things that I used to do, that my whole world is about the person I'm infatuated or in love with or completely engulfed with everything that is them, that I forget about myself. And when I don't see that returned or reciprocated, I start to isolate myself. And my name is Ivan. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with relationships. Relationships, man, oh man, I tell you. It's kind of like that Beatles song, the love you make, no, how does it go? The love you make is equal to the love you take, or something like that. I don't know. I've always been a dreamer of sorts, and it's not like that in real life. And I can totally relate to the story of Jack and Sally, because many times in my relationships I've been with a lot of broken people, and this last relationship I was in, it was exactly like that. And it really wasn't meant to be. And that was the reality of this relationship. And I've just lost myself. I wasn't playing music anymore. I wouldn't want to hang out with my family. And then the pandemic hits, and it got worse. And then I started working from home. So I didn't have that away time from this person, and I was living with this person, and I could see this person breaking more each day, and we just didn't have that distance from each other. For me, I needed to go to work, I needed to get out of the house, and I needed to escape that world of relationship world, and try to gather my thoughts and clear my mind. And I just didn't give myself that time to re-energize, and I completely became alone. And I kept on falling further in this isolation, and I would make excuses and not want to hang out with my family, and then I lost my brother, and that got a little bit harder for me to deal with. And after I lost my brother, a few months later, I'm getting kicked out. And the hardest thing was feeling this guilt. And I knew this time that it wasn't entirely the other person's fault. I had a lot to do with the distance that drove us apart, and the guilt just became overwhelming. And I know that I can't go back. And it was hard for me to see the real life broken Sally fall apart in so many levels. And I knew that I couldn't do anything about it. And I needed to start focusing on my health and my struggles. And when you do that, people start thinking that you're being selfish. And when you lose yourself, when you're in that position, and you start thinking about yourself again, it's hard to find the real reason why you got together in the first place. And it's hard to say goodbye because it takes two to work as one. And I didn't feel like working at it anymore because it was an excuse after another excuse, and I knew that there was never going to be a change until they decided for themselves that they needed to help themselves, because ultimately another person's not going to make you happy until you make that choice to be happy. And with relationships, that's the gamble that you take each time you get into one. You just hope and you pray that when you get into a new relationship, that the both of you have this same mutual understanding that you have to take care of you first, always, before you can share anything together. And the hardest thing for me was I also had to share my time with this person and her kids. And I had become attached to her kids. I also got attached to her dog and her cat. And no one knows who this person is. We'll just call her Sally. But we just have to keep on pushing. We have to pray, and eventually, if it gets too hard, we know we have to understand that we have to walk away. And that is the hardest thing that anybody can do. And all I gotta say is, I love you guys, and always remember, do not forget you. Have a nice evening.